Well, for the first time in many weeks, Dalton trustees and Mayor Tiffany Henyard held a public meeting together.
The drama surrounding Mayor Tiffany Henyard of Dalton continues to intensify, with new allegations and controversies surfacing at every turn. During a heated village trustee meeting, Henry shifted her focus from her now infamous $619 reimbursement demand to startling accusations of financial mismanagement by the trustees. She accused them of reckless spending that drained the village's finances while essential services were neglected. Among her claims, Henry pointed out that village employees had been left idle for months due to a lack of internet access, even as the village continued paying exorbitant fees to a service provider despite email access being cut off. Holding up an invoice for $336,500 paid to the trustee's lawyer, she compared it to her $619 request, declaring, "The math just doesn't add up." Her criticisms extended to what she described as frivolous expenditures, such as a Valentine's Day event that reportedly cost thousands in police overtime. Henry alleged that officers were pulled from their regular duties to act as her personal security detail during the celebration. "We can't afford this," she said, frustration evident in her voice. "They're throwing parties while the rest of us are trying to keep the village afloat." Henry's accusations didn't stop there. She accused the trustees of abusing police resources for personal political gain, alleging that officers had been instructed to harass and follow their political opponents. In a shocking revelation, a former police chief reportedly admitted to being directed to target specific individuals. "This isn't what the police are for," Henry said, shaking her head. "The police are meant to serve and protect the community, not act as puppets for the trustees." Vowing to clean up what she called a mess in Dalton, Henry promised to hold those responsible accountable. She announced plans to bring in outside auditors to investigate financial mismanagement and accused the trustees of appointing her personal lawyer as the village's official counsel. "Yes, you heard me correctly," she said, claiming her lawyer's appointment was a conflict of interest orchestrated by her opponents. Meanwhile, her insistence on the $609 reimbursement became a mantra, symbolizing what she framed as a broader fight against corruption. However, critics were quick to point out the irony of her relentless pursuit of a relatively small sum, especially amid allegations of her own questionable spending habits. Rumors swirled about Henry's alleged misuse of public funds, including a staggering $443,000 spent on Amazon in a single day and nearly $500,000 used to pave her mother's driveway. To make matters worse, Henry is reportedly facing eviction from her home for failing to pay over $5,000 in rent. According to her landlord, Janetta Hall, Henry and her boyfriend, Sim Woods, changed the locks to avoid eviction notices. Hall, who attended the township meeting in hopes of
announcement that she claims will result in some of her opponents being arrested.
As the drama escalated during the village trustee meeting, Mayor Tiffany Henyard intensified the tension by shifting her focus from her $619 reimbursement demand to accusations of the village's financial mismanagement. She lambasted the trustees for what she described as reckless and wasteful spending, arguing that Dalton's coffers were being depleted while essential services were neglected. Henry highlighted inefficiencies, pointing out that village employees had been sitting idle for months due to a lack of internet access, even as the village continued paying exorbitant fees to an internet provider after email services had been cut off. Brandishing an invoice totaling $336,500 for legal services rendered by the trustee's lawyer, she juxtaposed the expense with her modest $609 request, bluntly stating, "The math just doesn't add up." Her critique extended beyond contracts and legal bills. She delved into what she called an alarming pattern of frivolous expenditures, singling out the village's recent Valentine's Day event. According to Henry, the event cost thousands of dollars in police overtime, as officers were diverted from their regular duties to serve as her personal security detail. "We can't afford this," she declared, frustration evident in her voice. "And yet, they're throwing parties while the rest of us are trying to keep the village afloat." Henry painted a grim picture of a community struggling to meet basic needs, while trustees allegedly prioritized extravagant events over critical services. She accused the board of ignoring urgent issues, such as stabilizing finances and restoring essential services, in favor of maintaining an illusion of affluence. Her remarks struck a chord with some attendees, who nodded in agreement, while others rolled their eyes at what they perceived as hypocrisy. Given the ongoing controversy surrounding her own spending choices, including her gold blazer and relentless pursuit of $690. By the end of her fiery critique, Henry had successfully shifted the meeting's focus from her personal grievance to a broader indictment of village governance. Supporters commended her for spotlighting mismanagement, while critics accused her of deflection and further inflaming tensions. What began as a routine meeting to address community priorities had evolved into a heated debate over fiscal responsibility, leadership, and Dalton's future. The night's fiery clashes and unresolved tensions ensured that it would remain a focal point of local discussions for weeks to come.
Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard.
At the heart of a growing political tempest in Dalton, Illinois, Mayor Tiffany Henyard became the focal point of an unexpectedly dramatic village trustee meeting. The packed room buzzed with tension and curiosity as the proceedings quickly turned into a spectacle destined to be discussed for months. Setting the tone for the evening was Mayor Henry's bold choice of attire, a solid gold blazer reportedly priced at $619. This striking fashion statement, symbolic of the larger controversies surrounding her leadership, immediately sparked debate over extravagance and accountability. As the meeting began, attendees couldn't help but focus on the eye-catching outfit, which seemed to amplify growing criticisms of her priorities and judgment. Initially, the agenda aimed to address pressing community concerns, including Dalton's financial struggles and governance challenges. However, discussions quickly veered into critiques of Mayor Henry's spending habits, demeanor, and what many residents perceived as a tone-deaf approach to leadership. Despite the mounting criticism, she remained steadfast and unapologetic, her commanding presence further polarizing the room. Supporters praised her confidence and charisma, while critics saw her actions as emblematic of a disconnect from the economic realities faced by constituents. Tensions escalated when a trustee openly confronted Mayor Henry about her leadership style and priorities. The exchange grew heated, captivating attendees as the room divided into opposing camps of support and dissent. Meanwhile, local media and social platforms amplified the spectacle. Photos of the mayor's gold blazer trended online, and animated discussions dissected the optics and implications of her bold wardrobe choice, further fueling public scrutiny. Seemingly unfazed by the backlash, Mayor Henry positioned herself as a figure of resilience and strength. While this stance earned admiration from some, others saw it as defiance in the face of legitimate concerns. By the meeting's end, the original agenda had been overshadowed by the palpable divides and raw emotions dominating the evening. The community was left grappling with deeper questions about leadership responsibility and the blurred line between personal expression and public duty. However, this wasn't the only controversy of the night. Mayor Henry remained focused on reclaiming the $609 she alleged was owed to her. Her dramatic entrance in the gold blazer had set the stage for an evening that felt more like political theater than a policy-driven discussion. The meeting felt more like a personal crusade than a government assembly. Rather than addressing Dalton's fiscal challenges or presenting a coherent plan for the struggling village, Mayor Tiffany Henyard fixated on recovering $609, which she claimed was her rightful reimbursement from a $10,000 training budget. The situation escalated rapidly as she demanded answers about the withheld payment. Waving receipts in the air, she accused